What up, WTF Nation Radio? I am the actual King Smith, and we are live for the Sports Bar here in the first Sunday of June, June the 2nd, 2024. And here at the Sports Bar, we are two veterans, myself and Coach, who talk about all the things sports and life. And we are proud to serve y'all. All right? Now, my co-host is about to come up here, okay? And this might be the first show that gets canceled at WTF Nation Radio because without further ado, I'm just going to bring up Coach. Coach, let the people know something.
What do you hear? What do you say? It's been 2 months since we've last been on the radio show, buddy. How in the hell are you? Man, I love it, and I haven't left the house, you know? I'm getting real comfortable just being at my house right now.
I'm looking on the screen. I can tell you real comfortable being at the house right now.
Well, let me say something right now. For those of you uninitiated, I would like to explain one thing. For those that are over at SWIC. Oh, Nelly, was that a U.S Army WTF moment if I had ever seen one, my friends.
Are you able to explain the story behind this photo before we even get into our show? What's the story behind this photo?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, out there, I want to remind everybody that putting a Zoom link or a link that invites you to a video type of conference, you may want to ensure that all of the controls are taken, the admin things are set up, or, you don't haphazardly just invite the public in a capacity where they are able to manipulate the settings. You see, as the change of command ceremony was happening over in SWIC, on their Zoom feed, broadcast to many, and being recorded for prosperity, the settings were changed by a user. Now, I don't know whether or not this was his webcam, but plugging him a little bit more about what he had in hand at that time would be a discredit upon the fine U.S. Army Special Forces and Special Operations Commands soldiers that were there at Yusuf. Well, ladies and gentlemen, everybody thought it was a clown show over at Yusuf. Well, guess what? It's not a clown show. It sure is now is a clown puncher show. So, during the Zoom feed, as the remarks of the incoming commander was happening, Mr. Handy himself was having a fun time with a certain object somewhere in his cornhole. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he was cornholing, butt plugging while he was wanking it for all to see. Now, whether or not this was a video, but this was broadcasted during a change of command ceremony. So immediately once that happened, the inbox of U.S. Army WTF moments went absolutely berserk. And this picture has been floating around of what exactly transpired. Now, I figured it would be a great way to start off the show by, I don't know, just kind of, if we don't get zucked by this, we're never getting zucked. Either that or nobody is watching us. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, but if you are watching us, hey, say hi there over in the chats. I hope everybody's doing well. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was broadcasted. And I figured in honor of everybody here, I am going to keep this up as my profile picture all day until we get zucked.
Well,
And
what
then we'll just another feed.
what a time to come back here for the sports bar. Look, to all of our viewers here at WTF Nation Radio, thank you. We did take the entire month of May off. That wasn't a planned thing. Schedules just, happened the way that they happen. But we are back live
I Hey,
for
I
the
looked at
viewers.
it the last time we did a show together. I was 43. My birthday was fucking April 14th.
Hey, you had a birthday. Happy birthday. Yeah, I think that was the last time we
No,
did a show together.
there was
Because I did one
there
at the
was the
end of
show
April.
there was a show that I had connection issues with. Remember?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was the last time. Yeah.
Yep. Whew. Well, now that we've kicked off the show this way, look, here at
Uh,
WTF Nation Radio, Coach and I are two of the hosts here that we have. But before we get into our show, there are other shows here at WTF Nation Radio. I would like to say that we're the most watched show of all of them, but that would be a made up stat. But until somebody proves otherwise, we are the most watched show here at WTF Nation Radio. But we do have other shows. Coach, let the people know about the other shows.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So we come to you live 6 nights a week on U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio across Facebook, YouTube, X, and Kick. Kick off the week with us, King and Coach, on the Sports Bar. And we're going to be talking about the world of sports as starting at 8 p.m. And for every other show that is on U.S. Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio, it is an 8 p.m. Eastern start time, which leads us right into Monday as Ice brings you the Monday edition. Ice, I hope that we're not zucked and you'll be able to have a Monday edition on this one, but don't worry, I've got things well in hand. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, on Monday we've got everything on the Monday edition, and then on Tuesday, this one CQ. I am definitely putting you over, ladies and gentlemen. We need to share his video too, King, for his what's it called for his show on Tuesday, because ladies and gentlemen, on Tuesday, King has his interview with actor, producer, and writer Greg Grunberg. You have seen him on many different shows like Lost and Star Trek. He has been an actor, a writer, and a producer with J.J. Abrams. But he sat down with CQ, and you were going to see it live on Tuesday on Pop Culture Warrior. We'll grab that video he's got up there too. And Wednesday, now this Wednesday, I don't believe we're having a show this Wednesday. Is Radar everything okay with Wednesday? I guess everything would be okay on Wednesday, because when Wednesday comes around, we'll find out whether or not Radar and TeeZee are back with the Smoke Pit, the 2 hour smoke break right in the middle of your week. Sit down, bullshit, decompress the week, and talk about whatever the hell you want on the Smoke Pit, 8 o'clock on Wednesdays. Rolling it right into Thursdays, Ice is back with Sarge Time, breaking it down for the hottest topics of the week within the U.S. military and what is happening regarding absolutely anything with the U.S. Army Mold Center of Excellence. Yes, and by the way, download Hots and Cots. Download the Hots and Cots apps. Yes. And then on this Friday, well, I am not getting paid this Friday. So that means that Kaz is back for Friday Night Freedom, and I believe he also has a guest coming up, and that is the one, the only, yes, Doctrine Man himself. Colonel Retired Steve Leonard will be coming on this Friday's show of Friday Night Freedom. So, ladies and gentlemen, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, and 2 p.m. out there. You all love you all in Hawaii on U.S Army WTF Moments and WTF Nation Radio across Facebook, X, YouTube, and Kick. Let's kick off the fucking show, too, my friend.
Let me get off mute. Also, let's throw this out there. On Saturdays, it hasn't been an official show yet, but our resident social media guy Nemo had his birthday. Speaking of birthdays, so we want to say happy birthday to Nemo as well. He's been doing the weekend co-ops where he plays games, talks to the people, has people join him playing as well. And he got on last night and played a Killer Clowns video game. And look, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't really fuck with clowns like that. So like I checked it out. But
Hey,
man, Killer
you
Clowns,
know what?
no thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. You know what? Happy birthday, Nemo. I hope you were able to punch the clown just like I am.
This is the video that coach was referencing here. Let me see if I can get this thing to play.
Hey, I'm Greg Grunberg, Snap Wexley from Star Wars, Matt Parkman from Heroes, Captain Seth Norris from Lost. I could go on and on and on, but my favorite role of all was guest on Pop Culture Warrior. Are you kidding me? You are in the right place. Right here, Pop Culture Warrior on WTF Nation.
Yeah, that thing at the end. Yeah, come on. I got to give him a little bit of a break on that. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
Hey, it's a handful. Like anytime I'm telling people that I do a sports show, they're like, "Hey, so where can we find it at?" I'm like, "Well, if you go to Facebook or YouTube and you look up WTF Nation Radio or U.S Army WTF Moments, you'll find it, right?" And everybody's like, "Can you say that, but like at 0.25 speed, so that I can understand what the hell you just said?" Oh,
You
oh,
know, we and man, I love the diversity of everything that we have, and I know we've got a great group of people that follow us on X, and I hope that maybe we get Elon up there on X. Is that what it's called when you get banned because you show yourself getting
hey,
handy?
it'll never happen. Elon and
Oh,
them
good.
are the ones about free speech now. Like people are getting
Yeah.
demonetized and deplatformed on YouTube, but X is showing that
So
hey,
I mean,
I'm
I
not
wonder,
about
I
free
wonder
speech.
if we should venture out into TikTok and ensure that the balls are in their court and we have our balls in our court, and we're dribbling, as well as we can.
I'm trying to what kind of change of command was it? Was it like I don't know, army
I
structure like
think
I
I,
forget.
I, I honestly think it might have been like the commander, like the one star that's in charge. But
Oh
yeah,
man,
so
that's
this is all right because I always fuck it up. I've got to go to Facebook real fast, and yeah, I know I am keep calling SWIC. What exactly it comes on there, but give me a second. I know it's the whole acronym. Um, JF. Give me a sec, man. I'm sorry about this. Yeah. So anyway, the U.S. Army John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center in School, because that's what always messes me up. Is SWIC. It's the with the S at the end. So yeah. But anyway, SWIC is where the all the SF courses are done out of, the advanced classes that they have, any of the training, as well as the other MOSs and NCOAs for those selected MOSs. So yeah, that's what does that for the Army.
whew. Okay. All right. Now, for today's show, people, we have an interesting lineup. All right. We're going to cover our quick hit sports news. Okay. We are also going to, and this isn't my show news. Give me a second. What in the world is going on? Let's get this right. All right.
All right.
Uh, I found a guy that is on a quest to sit in all of the world's worst sports seats. And I'm going to show you guys some pictures and be like, it should be criminal to actually charge people to sit in some of these areas. I also have a video of future President Travis Kelce, Commander in Chief. Also have follow up to the news
Oh,
about Henry
God.
Ruggs and how he's serving his time after he was found guilty of a couple of lesser charges. If y'all don't know, Henry Ruggs was a former college football standout, got drafted by the now Los Angeles Raiders, and killed somebody while driving 120 something miles an hour and her dog. And people are in uproar about how he's serving his time. We are going to talk about that here coming up. And I
Yeah.
know that Coach hates us talking about the WNBA. So we're going to talk about the WNBA. Is Caitlin Clark getting mistreated as a rookie in the WNBA? And we're going to end it with the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight update. So stay tuned. Coach, are you ready?
Oh, let's get going with this. Let's do it, buddy.
All right. So, first things first, let's kick this off here. We're going to do sports quick hits. In the NBA,
Excuse-
the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics are going to be playing in the NBA final. Coach, who do you have winning the NBA championship this season?
All right, I am being honest with you. It is a zero win sum for me. And I say this as a Knicks fan because if the Boston Celtics win, then they are the clear path through the championship for the Knicks. So the Knicks have to prepare themselves for Boston, which leaves themselves open for getting beat by a Western Conference team. It's always the catch up game the Knicks try to get once they're at the relevancy. But, but, I'm glad you grabbed that picture. As much as I think that Luka Doncic is a great and needs to win a championship to cement himself as a Hall of Famer, I just have a severe dislike for Kyrie Irving, and I do not wish anything well upon him. In the words of Mr. Chappelle during the player haters ball, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I don't even know you, I hate you. I wish everything bad that ever happens within this world happens upon you, and that's where I take you, Kyrie Irving. So I'm a little torn here.
Ooh, all right. Well, let's give some people some narratives around this, right? The 64 win Boston Celtics have the most efficient offense in NBA history, and they have only lost twice during this year's playoffs. They're led by the two men that you see on the screen here, number 0, Jason Tatum, and Eastern Conference Finals MVP, Jalen Brown. Now, Jalen Brown in the early series was playing second behind Tatum. Tatum is Mr. Everything. Not only does he have an efficient offense, but his defense is real dominant as well. But Jalen Brown started to turn things up and show every team that they played against, why he's still that dude as well. Now, on the Dallas side, they came in as the fifth seed. And a lot of people have said that Dallas had the easiest path to the NBA Finals, all right, led by all-star, all-world Luka Doncic and veteran NBA player Kyrie Irving. Now, if you look at a picture of Kyrie Irving, Kyrie looks like he's older than me. I had to laugh because Kyrie's like 32 or 33 years old, but he's old in NBA terms. He's the OG, he's the vet, he's been there before as well. Do I think that the Dallas Mavericks have enough to beat this Boston Celtics team? No. I think, and I'm going to say it very publicly, I think this is going to be a 6-game series. I think Boston's going to take the first two, Dallas is going to take the second two, and then Boston's going to finish up in game 6. Coach, how do you see this looking?
All right. Okay. Tatum and Doncic each have their opportunity to. I will give them at least one home game. This is definitely going 5 games. I'm thinking 6 going to Boston. As much as I don't want it to go to Boston, mainly as I feel that Boston has been battle tested. Boston has made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I believe what was it 2 years ago they were in the finals. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yep. So 2 years ago in the finals, they've been battle tested. Back the Eastern Conference Finals. This is the fourth year in a row they were in there. Mavericks are finally getting there for the first time up here. Yeah, I understand Kyrie was in 2016 as well as the other years that Cleveland made it. Yeah, Kyrie is also Kyrie. Let's be quite honest on here. I can't say the same thing about Tatum being Tatum or Brown being Brown, much as the same way of Kyrie being Kyrie. You see where I'm getting that negative part at? That's where I'm trying to get to it. That possibility is swaying me towards Boston at 6.
Okay. All right. So you and I both have Boston in 6. Now, if Boston wins, it'll be their 18th championship, setting an NBA record.
Yep.
And if Dallas wins, it'll be the first time since 2011 that they've hoisted the Larry O'Brien trophy, when their current head coach, Jason Kidd, was also a player and helped the Mavericks win their only title to date. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm here for it. Game 1 tips off Thursday, June the 6th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, airing on ABC. All
Now,
right.
people forget too. People forget about this. Jason Kidd, that when he was in Dallas. So this was his return to Dallas because he was actually originally drafted by Dallas back in 1994. Him and Grant Hill were the co-MVPs of the 94-95 season. And then, he went through a slew of other teams before that year. And that was his first ever championship, was back in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And now, rookie of the year in Dallas, didn't have probably his best playing years, but won his championship in Dallas, and now can finally coach the team to Dallas, man.
Hey, that's some pedigree right there. I love to see stories like that. I think that Dallas has a talented team for sure. Luka and Kyrie average. Well, Kyrie, I think I'm gonna walk one thing back. The Kyrie that we saw in the last series that they played in started to turn things up because Kyrie started hot and then fell off a bit through this year's playoffs and then started to kick things back up here over the last series and reminded people who he is. Like, he's still that dude. So if Kyrie can turn things up, then they, like I said, 6 games. If Kyrie doesn't show up, Luka can't do everything himself. PJ Washington can seem to be streaky. And while folks are talking about this efficient Boston offense, it overshadows the fact that their defense is also leading in the NBA as well. So, I mean, they're playing excellent on both sides of the floor. I said 6 to be conservative, but if Kyrie plays as bad or as mid as he did in the middle part of this year's playoffs, it could be a sweep, maybe even a 5-game series.
It has the possibility of doing that, but let me ask you this: Doncic is now 3-time MVP. Finally getting into the finals, he has the ability to take over a game or two here, and that's why I kind of give them 1 to 2 home games on for it. I don't think the sweep is going to happen. I really doubt that we're going to see a sweep. The 5 possibility, I'll give you that. But I don't see a sweep, man.
All right. Now, moving over to the NHL side. The Florida Panthers are back in the Stanley Cup Finals. Since we had Hey, I said this is gonna be the live stream that I piss off coach today. All right. Because look, Florida's had a team make it to the finals. I think it like almost every year in the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah. Well, the state of Florida has, yeah.
Yep. And tonight, right, the Edmonton Oilers, who's currently leading over the Stars, and the game's on right now on TNT. It's in the first quarter. The Oilers are leading the series 3-2. So if they win tonight, they'll advance. Vegas has the Oilers winning and advancing, but Florida, it doesn't matter who the Panthers are playing against. The current odds is that the championship is Florida's to lose. Now, how much about hockey do you know, and what's your
Man,
prediction?
so let me preface this by stating something about last weekend. And I'm kind of glad that we did not have a show last weekend because on the radio was Steve Summers on WFAN. And it was after the Rangers afternoon game that Sunday. The Rangers had come back in overtime and had taken a 2-1 series lead. And Steve Summers was one of the first voices on WFAN in 1987. He retired in 2021 or 22, somewhere in that time period. And he comes back every now and then. But I hadn't heard him talk about a Rangers after a win in a long, long, long time. And I figured it would be a good time to try to call in and talk to him as well during it. I've been following the Rangers all throughout it since since the first round sweep. The second round, it went 6 games. We all had thoughts that everything was going in like '94, but um, hmm, I do owe it to somebody at my work that he was right, and I kept on believing that he wasn't going to take it. But yeah, the Panthers were just way too strong, and they do. Let's just be. They beat the best team in the NHL regular season. So Edmonton, as much as I think that Edmonton would give up a little bit of fight, I do see Florida. They've been too physical. They shut down Zabinajad. They've been able to break down the defenses, and when within their physicality, the way that they've been pushing it and attacking it, they've been able to, prove themselves that they're worthy for Lord Stanley's Cup this year.
Hey, I like to look at the analytics. I like to look at the numbers. And when I was taking a look at the matchups and things, because I'm learning about hockey. All right. I don't. I think what the analyst said about it being the Panthers to lose. That's where I sit as well. If I'm a bet man, which I am, I will put my money on Florida to win the championship this year.
Yeah. And it's interesting we talk about that part about you're getting into hockey, and hey, I'm glad about that. We are all trying to explore new sports and new avenues and things like that. And I'll tell you, for me, hockey is one that is specifically to 1 to 2 teams that I follow, and it's outside of that I don't know diddly shit. That's about the best thing I could say with hockey. But I kind of realize how fandoms truly are, where people don't pay attention to certain things, and hockey has long been one of those ones that we know it's there. But there's a lot of people that don't watch it, and those that do watch it, well, some of them are a little off-putting, but they're very intense in watching it, like English football, fucking intense. That kind of intensity there. And it made me realize something today, as I am watching the freaking NASCAR race on FS1. It's on FS1, and I can't believe that there's only like 1 million people that are going to end up watching that race. But they were advertising the UFL season finale. I didn't even know the fucking UFL season started.
I was just going to talk about that. So I went to a UFL game. I filmed it. Where did I post it? I think I posted it on my personal social media. So I went down and went to a DC Defenders game, man. And I want to give a special thanks to Stephanie. It was her company's. They had like an on-field suite. I am now spoiled. If I'm going to go to any sporting event, it needs to be something like a suite because we had free food, free beverages, and drinks as well. If you wanted mixed drinks, you had to pay for those, but all the beer was free, right? And I'm sitting here holding my pinky out, watching people like, who are these folks, and why do they get their own food sitting right here? And I'm like, yeah, peasants. This is how
Yeah.
I get down. But it's a really good product. The DC Defenders play at Audi Field in downtown DC. It was a very entertaining game. I got invited to go to today's game, but I just had a lot to get done, so I wasn't able to make it out. And the DC Defenders lost by a point against the St. Louis Battlehawks.
And it, like, but that's where I never, honest to God, this UFL. I know that it was after football and or after the Super Bowl and the XFL and the USFL became this, but I was completely surprised that I did not pay attention one bit to the United Football League the entire year. Like even the XFL, I had like a little modded interest in it of like how it was going to be varied the third time, but there was nothing with the UFL.
Yep. Now,
Yeah.
I do have to correct myself. DC played against Arlington today and lost by a point. And the conference championships are going to be next week. You can find it on Fox or ABC. This upcoming Saturday, the Birmingham Stallions, Alabama baby, are going to be playing against the Michigan Panthers. And over in the the XFL Pro, what they call it, San Antonio, who had that kicker that was a social media sensation. He destroying is his online media name. I forget.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. He had his opportunity to play. He made the roster for the San Antonio Brahmas. He goes down on the kickoff because you know that the NFL is transitioning to the way that the
The
XFL,
XFL
what
did
the
their
UFL,
kickoff. Yeah.
yep, kickoff is, which is going to have the kickers possibly being in more action this year. And the Kansas City Chiefs came out after Harrison Butker had made his way into the news for things that he said during a graduation. And the Chiefs have said that they're looking at employing a kickoff specialist for kickoffs, right? And having their kicker, like Harrison Butker, be just their field goal kicker so that you're not worried about getting your kicker injured because there's going to be a lot more returns in the upcoming season.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
hold on, pause. What? And the reason why I
yeah, yeah.
mentioned that is because D. Stroin went down. He made a phenomenal tackle where everybody was like, "Ooh!" Like he popped the return guy out of bounds and did something to his neck and is on IR now. So his one game that he got in that was doing real good, made a tackle, realized that boys in the pro leagues are a lot bigger and faster than they were when he was in college, and his NF or his professional dreams might be done. He makes way more money on social media and YouTube anyway than playing for the UFL, so it's not like he needed it.
Yeah, I subbed his channel last year after we were talking about him
Yeah, he's a
with
good
what he
guy.
was doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember him. You know, and with that way, he's the Kansas City's got a good idea about that. But it makes me remember or miss the days of guys like Sebastian Janikowski. All right, kickoff wise, it started to get there around the late 90s where guys like Hall from the Jets was just booming stuff, and Elam up in Denver was touchback city and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since then, I know these kickers are having it, but there used to be a great position. And remember how there was a great player by the name of Don Beebe. He popularized it. Was the gunner position. And Don Beebe, as the special teams artist, was kind of one of those guys that was part of that gunner part of doing those types of things. But it was always because that was kind of necessary as far as protecting the kicker and, adding that little extra element for it. I think with all of the added kickoffs that are happening right now, no, we need to not just have two separate kickers, even though Kansas City's right. Because number one, I want to see one of these guys go ahead and cock block this freaking guy, just for just something, just for the women to have something to hold on to, even though at the end of this he's going to be a 3-time Super Bowl champion because I already picked them to win 3 in a row. But anyway, this guy needs to be a fucking football player. Sebastian Janikowski would tackle people. Freaking punters were supposed to tackle people. But it's always freaking great to know that you are going to see a touchdown when you have that opportunity to see that punter go maybe shit his pants right in front of a guy like Devin Hester. And that's something that's missing in the game. That's something that needs to be brought back. So hell no to Kansas City. Keep that going. I want some more returns. I want to see that kicker look like a schmuck going down. But I also want to see the kicker do something miraculous. In fact, here's a great one for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pittsburgh Steelers, the year that they won with Buss and Roethlisberger, do you remember who the best team in the regular season was that year?
Mm-mm.
It was the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
And on a play as they were playing in the playoffs, I believe something happened where the kicker prevented the kick return from being returned to the touchdown. It saved Pittsburgh's season, and I believe they won it. Then they won the AFC Championship game, and then the NFL threw the game so that the Buss could win in Detroit and then retire. But so that Pittsburgh and Bill Cowher can finally be considered a Hall of Fame coach. But yeah. Anyway. It's so Omar Epps could have an acting job after hours. But yeah, you see where I'm getting at. So kickers, that portion that is gone, you don't know what you got until it's gone. And you know what? Everybody misses all of these things, but everybody also missed the little nuances that we got with those things. So let's get those nuances back.
Bring it back. Like, it was exciting to see players like the human joystick, Dante Hall, right? Devin Hester, which you can say that Devin Hester would be an afterthought if he didn't return as many returns as he did. He didn't make an impact as a wide receiver.
In this NFL, in fact, if you look at it too, Devin Hester's the reason why there is no more kickoff returns. Just remember that. They can say all they want about concussions. Anybody was trying to make sure that they kicked it nowhere near Devin Hester because he had that unbelievable ability. And if he didn't play in the time that he did, I mean, obviously he made those changes, and that's kind of what makes you a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. If the game has to be changed because of you, and I'm not talking about a game has to be changed because of safety for you, like horse collar tackling. Or, the chop block because of fucking Tom Brady being a mangina. I'm talking about the competitive portion. They changed the fucking game for Devin Hester. Yep. Let's get that back. Let's get that excitement back. I want to see freaking, you know who I want to see? I want to see Breece Hall of the Jets. I want to see him return a kickoff.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. I want to see Garrett Wilson returning man, come on.
Now,
Garrett Wilson with ball in hand is like freaking, Jerry Rice-esque. Let me not over-exaggerate myself. Jerry Rice-esque. But yeah, I want to see it, man.
I know you're a Jets fan, but I'm excited. When you said somebody like Breece Hall, I'm excited to see somebody like that get the ball with the way that they have the blocking, right? And he could have more of an impact, or some of these there may be like the fourth or fifth wide receiver, maybe the second or third running back that's on the team where they make that impact as a return person. Devin Hester, for example, right, was got into the Hall of Fame in his third year of being able to be inducted.
Yep.
And he was the first return specialist to make the Hall of Fame, despite playing, I think, 14 seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. And primarily used as a return person over the last four. He had, as a receiver, in his last 4 seasons, in his first season with Atlanta, they played him at wide receiver as well, where he had 38 catches for 504 yards and 2 touchdowns. But in 3 of his last 4 seasons, primarily a kick return, which he had his most in his last season uh, with the Bears, which he had 52 returns, but no touchdowns to go along with it. Um, and but he was still housing punts as well. So I'm all for it.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm all for it.
Somebody brought this up too, I saw this maybe online. Yeah, in fact, I did see it online on a reel. So Devin Hester was drafted as a wide receiver out of the University, or excuse me, as a cornerback out of the University of Miami, primarily as his primary job over there was as the return guy over in Miami. The U days, in the early 2000s. So his one of his plays, he ends up giving out a freaking touchdown, like a long touchdown run. He wind up as the cornerback. Then they kicked it to him, and then he broke off for his first ever touchdown in the NFL. Then in the second half, he scored his second. And then I believe like the next week he became like the first guy in NFL history to return a punt and a kickoff in for the touchdown. And then he became the first guy to return the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl for a touchdown. Come on, man.
Yep.
That's like fucking. That was Devin Hester's rookie season was an all time. That was an all time, man.
Yeah. Hey, look, when you're special, when you can make an impact. Make that impact. That's what I'm trying to tell my daughter, man. She'll be a senior this upcoming year, and
Yeah.
she doesn't like the spotlight. She doesn't like to make herself big. She likes to shrink herself. And I'm like, look, I need for you to be just above average or better than average, because notoriety, it has its good and its bad, but there's more good than bad, in my opinion. And take the most of the opportunities that you're given. And that's exactly what Devin Hester did. And he made a career out of it, right? There's these players that are in the NFL now. You're hearing about the Rices, where he, got into the accident and then ran off. Two other players got in trouble for trying to be their best. Michael Vick impersonation here recently, where they had some dog issues or whatnot. And I'm like, these young men have an opportunity that the average person just won't get, and they're squandering it. They're squandering it. So if you are out there and you're listening to us, if you have the opportunity to be above average, excel at that shit. Don't just be average. All right. Take the most of the opportunities that you have, because it's not going to last.
You're damn right. That is absolutely true. I do agree with that one. If King can also say this, because after we had a little work function on Wednesday, um, after everything was done within the company, I ended up at the end of this month. I am now number one in something that it gets measured out of anybody in the company, and that's something I'm taking a little bit of freaking pride in. It might not be freaking groundbreaking for what I do, but in a metric where they measure the best, I am the best.
Hey,
And yeah,
bravo.
there's a little bit of a bat. You gotta do that for yourself. Stay humble, but be proud, and
Yes.
pat yourself on the back when deservedly so and respectfully so.
Earlier today, I was telling my lady, I don't know that line, between humble and proud, because when I do well, you go know it. You go know it. But I'm like that because what I've learned too is that when you're good at what you do, people will seek you out. It creates opportunities for you as well. Like, I'm not going to say I'm excellent at this. I'm improving. I'm definitely a lot better than when I first started, right? But it's allowed me to have opportunities, paid gigs down the line, one for a semi-pro team or a semi-pro league that's out there. I got asked if I'd be willing to host an award ceremony here coming up, man. And if I was just average or phoning it in, then these opportunities wouldn't come up. So I'm taking advantage of every single thing that happens. And to the people that are in the league, when you get the chance to make it to the professional level or above high school, and you have the opportunity to have your education paid, if you are from a not so wealthy family, create wealth, right? Don't fucking squander that shit, man. I can't stand to see it. My bad. I'm gonna get up off my soapbox. That's our sports news quick hits. We weren't quite quick with the quick hits today, but you know what? Everything that needed to be said needed to be said. Now,
Hell yeah.
I'm going to show you guys here, and to the people that are viewing, oh, all 130 on X. Hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I wish there was a like button
Yeah.
over there.
I
Hey,
hope we're going
like
balls out for you guys out there on X.
there,
Hey, you know what I noticed? I might be able to actually put the top portion of your head right there where that guy's right hand is, right above where that left heel starts.
damn.
I might be able to crop your head on that on one of those things, man.
Well, well,
I mean, it is the same shape. It's kind of easy. Oh dear God, I'm gonna put King's face all over in there next.
let me load up this next video here. It said, okay, here we go. Boom. All right, I did that wrong. Give me the buzzer. Let's try this way. All right. I was trying to display everything and it did not come out properly. But did you get a chance to see the video, Coach?
I did.
Okay, so let's do this way. All right, let's bring this up here. Let's share my screen. Producer, I need you to go faster. All right, here we go. So there is no sound to this video, but this college football fan, now these are college football stadium seats. This should be criminal to have to pay for this. All right. What are you going to be looking at staring on the side of these bricks? Here, let's get the next one up. Okay. I mean, look, if you want to get a handy, maybe back here is one of the best ways to do it. I can't believe that this is a ticket that can be sold. I'm imagining that what he's looking at is the Jumbotron, and this looks like that's at Boston College. They should be ashamed of themselves for actually having a seat that can be purchased that sits behind the Jumbotron. Another one where he's behind some concrete, can't really see the field. This is at USC. Tragedy.
All
Now,
right.
I'm going
Now,
to tell you the worst seats that I've sat at. All right. When I went to see the Alabama Crimson Tide, Roll Tide, play at home in the Iron Bowl against Auburn, I wanted to treat my uncle. My uncle had never been to a college football game of that nature. He has been a huge, lifelong Crimson Tide fan. And I was in town and I surprised him and got us both some seats. 50-yard line, very first level, right? And it's behind the home team. So I'm thinking, man, these are going to be some phenomenal seats. We're going to really enjoy the game, hear the crowd, all of that stuff. Never again. And here's why. Right in front of us was a gate and then some hedges, right? And I can imagine that those hedges are there as an extra security measure to keep people from like jumping the gate and then having that quick access to the players. But with those hedges, if you were sitting down in your seat, even standing, and I'm not a tall guy, you really couldn't see the field because it was a little bit lower than the field as well, right? So we're watching the game primarily from each side of the jumbotron because we were just too low to see the game, and I paid a premium for those tickets because it was the Iron Bowl and it was like 50-yard line, but it was just too low. So if you're ever at the Crimson Tide Stadium, I'm gonna say this: do not, do not, do not sit within the first 6 or 7 rows from the 50-yard line. You want to get row 8 and above to be able to actually see the field from your seats. Because having to turn this way and watch the entire game from the Jumbotron was just not comfortable for what I paid for those seats.
I fully agree. And yeah, there are a lot, and I have had my fair share of tickets. Now, I'll give you the worst one that I had. Worst one I had was 2019 WrestleMania 35 over at MetLife Stadium over in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. This would be the only way I'd be able to actually go to any WrestleMania and knock it off the bucket list, okay? Super Bowl still on the bucket list, so that's still happening. So is an NCAA Final Four. I've been to the Eastern Conference Championship, just saying.
Nice.
But so going there, the only way I could afford, etc., was to get the tickets kind of on the cheap of one of the ones that was there. But I went there with a plan. So I did buy tickets that were behind the freaking massive stage. I was not able to see anybody entering at all. No idea who it was. I would had to have looked on top of the ring at the Jumbotron to see what was happening. But what I did was something a little bit smarter. So I started looking around the rings on StubHub and SeatGeeks and VetTix and their, what is it, FNG Tix, right? And I started looking to see what seats were still available. And I waited until 15 minutes before WrestleMania was going to go.
Okay.
And if those tickets were still available, there was going to be a great chance that by the time that freaking WrestleMania started, those seats were not going to be sold. So I found a pair of seats that were on the same level, basically right at the end of the ringside, on the first row of the third level on MetLife. I had to walk down, but I was on the railing looking over straight down onto the ring. So
Nice.
I went from a shitty situation to a pretty decent one. But those seats that you're looking at, if you are going to be looking at the older stadiums, you are going to see those as the older support structures. Now, that metal bar would only have been available back in like the 40s, 50s to support the second stand that was necessary. And that would have been the only way, due to the modern materials and engineering practices that we had, for them to have a second level, was to put a beam up like that.
Mhm.
That's why you still see it in the older stadiums like Wrigley and Fenway. You'll have those seats like that. That last picture that you saw, what stadium does USC play in?
The Coliseum?
Yes. How many times has the Coliseum been renovated? And this is a perfect example of these seats of why they're there. But how many times has the Coliseum been renovated? And how old is it? It's over 100 years old. The freaking, they were playing NFL games. The freaking Dodgers moved to Los Angeles in the 50s. Was there? This thing's been renovated left and right, but in order to maximize the uniformity and kind of historicness of these stadiums and to keep the maximize of the seating, they have to have something like that just to make it kind of look uniform when seen from overhead and above and in the historical context of these older stadiums like that. You're stuck in a situation where you're not intentionally building it this way, but you have to kind of keep the uniformity that's all around the entire historic stadium.
I did not realize until you said it, and I looked it up, that the Coliseum's been up for over 100 years.
Yep, and the Coliseum's also going to be the freaking opening ceremony again 40 years later for the 44 years later for the Olympics.
Nice.
And I think it's actually if I'm incorrect, I probably am, but I'm not sure where London's or Paris's or the other ones were, but I think the Coliseum might be the only place that has ever had the Olympics at the same stadium twice or something. I mean, I'm not too definite what happened with the other ones, but that might be something in the future I'll look at.
Do you have any interest in ever attending an Olympic event? I do. Like, I like to go check it out one day when I'm like
Ye-
semi-retired.
okay, yes. Four different ones I want to go to. All right. First for the summer ones, I want to go to a ball game. I definitely want to see Team USA in a ball game. I want to see who we've got, and I want them to compete. Yeah, that would be awesome to see that. I can't pass up the chance to watch the Dream Team in the fucking Staples Center. You can't pass that up, man. And you know what? It would be kind of nice to see Team USA and Chavez Ravine. I'm just saying, those are the kind of the once in a lifetime types of trips. I'm able to go see Dodger Stadium and Chavez Ravine, and I'm not going to see the Dodgers. I'm going to see Team USA. That would be kind of like the bucket list good type of thing that I don't care about seeing the Dodgers. I would care about seeing Chavez Ravine.
Okay.
But the other ones definitely hurling and I may, just because I think it would be cool if they did this again. The U.S. Whitewater Center in Charlotte hosted a couple events. And if I could go there for that, it would be freaking perfect because I have hosted events there.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
All
You know
right.
that's not a humble brag type of thing. I think it would just be like I know the area, I know some of the
Mhm.
people that are working there, and it's cool that I might be able to see the Olympics at a place that I've done my work there.
Uh, Let me ask you a question, right? Now, here at WTF Nation Radio, the sports bar specifically, we got told nothing's off the table. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're in an election year, and we've already had a celebrity make a U.S. president. Do you think we'll see a sports icon ever make a president in our lifetime?
Now, I'm not gonna. I mean, icon and superstar. I wouldn't be out of the realm of question, but I would also remind you, Gerald Ford played football at Michigan.
That's right, he did.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I mean, and Gerald Ford was a pretty good football player. It wouldn't surprise me if you would see an athlete like that. For crying out loud, Bill Bradley is, an NBA Hall of Famer and a freaking New York Knick legend, played at Princeton and is an NCAA legend, and was a senator in New Jersey and a two-time presidential candidate. So yes, it can happen. And by the way, Bill Bradley was like the White Knight, the Golden Boy, the Great White Hope. I kid you not. If you ever look at something back in the day, man, Bill Bradley was like, the basketball Jesus, the clean cut All American basketball Jesus back in the day.
Hey, we have an update. The Edmonton Oilers now have another score to make it 2-0 at the end of the first. All right. So they've got a
All
strong
right,
chance of being able to pull this through and winning this series against the Dallas team.
man.
Now,
I will. All right. And by the way, Uh, ESPN with Messier and old boy that played for the Devils. Great analysis for hockey, man. And I'm glad that ESPN is finally taking hockey seriously. And Messier is a national treasure. I wish he was still, in his prime and back on the Rangers because then they would have fucking won. He would have guaranteed a win in Game 6, man. I was so hoping. I was so hoping that like one of the Rangers, like it's Shesterkin specifically, made a guarantee that he was going to win, that the Rangers were going to win Game 6, just like Messier did, freaking 30 fucking years ago. Oh, man, it's been 30 years. I was so hoping when that didn't happen, I kind of let it go that the Rangers were going to win. Hey, there's only one ever Mark Messier in my eyes, and that man had the ultimate balls move. I'm not sure you dev. So let me speed you up on hockey, man. Mark Messier is known for one nickname, the captain.
okay.
Okay, there's only two people that have ever been known as the captain, and that's Derek Sanderson, Jeter, and Mark Messier. That's the pantheon we're talking about here. He was also if he was the Pippin to Gretzky, but the Pippin that was continued to be successful after
Okay.
Gretzky, yeah, after Jordan. So let me say when he in Game 6, the Rangers hadn't won the Cup in 54 years in '94. And they were playing the Devils in the Eastern Conference, or I can't remember if it was a Norris or Conn Smythe, whatever the hell damn division it was back in the day. But they were playing them in the finals, and they were down 3-2, and they had lost Game 5 at home. And everybody was down thinking that the Rangers were not going to win it again. And Mark Messier, back in the papers, said that he guaranteed
Guarantee.
that
Yeah.
the Rangers were going to win Game 6. Rangers were down 2-1 in the third, and freaking Messier scores a natural hat trick, forces Game 7. The Rangers win 4-2. Forces Game 7 against the Devils. That game goes into overtime. Stefan Matteau's goal led to the by far the greatest hockey call ever, and then the Rangers won the cup after that. But that game's that man, Mark Messier, ultimate balls move, his guarantee, and not only was it a guarantee, he lifted the team. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen, of picking that team up and carrying the team and willing them to win.
Yeah, and look, Messier, I don't know him for his hockey career. What I do know him as is that off the field, he's known as somebody that if you're doing like leadership studies, right? Apparently he's that guy that if he was in the service, he'd be that colonel that you would want to go to war with and things like that. So I've heard about his leadership style,
Yeah,
and but I'm not too familiar with his
yeah.
hockey.
Messier was the leader's leader. I also kind of I would say that as the ultimate captain, that's who it was. Jeter was the captain of the Yankees. He should have done a little bit more leadership wise, but it was what it was with how he handled everything with the Yankees. It wasn't the same type of leadership. You know how you've got the one. Here's the best way I could say this: where you've got, oh, hey, David, how the hell are you, buddy? But you've got General Mattis and General Petraeus. The two different leadership styles, and that was kind of the way of Messier and Jeter. They were both easily successful in their field, different styles and different ways, but it is a great study. Messier is a phenomenal leader, man.
Yeah, I
Admire the
love
shit out of him, and I wish more players would be like him, man.
I agree. I love books and case studies on leadership. Love, love, love. And I've read Messier's book, No One Wins Alone, a couple of years back. And so that's why like I'm familiar with who he is, not
Yeah.
necessarily the sports stuff, but his book was like a top 10 read on leadership.
Hey, grooming and reviews, David Cunningham. We're doing pretty good, but man, I got to go back and reminisce on this because I was hoping that I could in a little bit more glorious fashion. So I'm a little bit more sped up and reminded me about how much I loved that '94 Rangers team. Um, man, I got to go a little bit back in those days. You see how much I remembered from Game 6 and Game 7 of that year.
Mm-hmm.
So my nan loved the Rangers. My nan loved the Rangers. My family loved the Devils. I loved my nan more than I loved the Devils. So I was more of the Rangers and wanted them to win the Stanley Cup before the Devils. Now, that being said, that '94 year was one of the best years ever. Mike Richter, the goalie, was on top of his game, one of the best save percentages in NHL history. Adam Graves had a 50-goal season, and 50-goal season is like, it's a little bit more of it's definitely as hard as a 50 home run season. But yeah, the 50-goal season's a real good season. Messier was an all-star, Boca Boom, Dagon, Brian Leach was at his time one of the best defensemen and another great leader, another assistant leader on that team. And the guy who was the coach at that time, he had just won the Stanley Cup the year before with Montreal, and he was hired specifically just to win the cup. They made some trades in the middle of the year. Some of the best players got traded for players that had to fit a role in that championship run. When they swept the Islanders in the first round, it was great to hear the Potvin sucks chants. Still, and it was a big FU to every Islander fan by the Ranger fans that year. But then that Eastern Conference Finals came up, and that was also the same time, too, that the Knicks were also still in that run. Remember, this is the OJ year. Yeah, so that year, man, a lot of shit happened, but those '94 Rangers, man, they were a special group. Messier was a special leader, and it was Messier that got them over the hump. And it needed a player like Messier again to get the Rangers over the hump. The problem is there's only one Mark Messier.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Hey, look, I love reading, and something that I love to do is carry a book on me anytime that I'm traveling. So this is a book by David Goggins. Uh Never finished. I haven't started on it yet. I'm supposed to do a book review on it this upcoming Wednesday. So I need to get going. This thing it's right at about 300 pages. But Mark's book was also read at about 300 some odd pages
It,
as well. It wasn't that hard of a read, but
yeah.
I recommend anybody, if you want to learn about leadership and things like that, read certain books, but definitely add
You know what?
to the list.
I'm glad that you got that. I downloaded, and by the way, here's let's go kind of tie veteran military back to what we do and into something for everybody. So now I actually want to read. I want to get the audio book for Messier if it's available. Now, how do I know if the audio book is available? Well, did you know that as a DoD retiree or a veteran or over 30%, you have access to the every Department of Defense library, including their digital library.
Okay.
All you need is to have your DoD ID number, that big long number that's on the back of the card that replaced the Social Security number.
Hmm.
That number right there, you could go on an app and download an app called Libby, Libby,
I'm familiar
and
with it.
yes, and then you can link in your DoD ID number to it into your registration through that app, and you're able to access these libraries of books, whether it be a digital book. If you want to request a hold at your local library, you can, what you're close to, or you can also download and rent for however long the time period is those said audio books instead of having to pay for them. And that's a pretty damn good benefit that you've got right there. So I am now going to look for Mark Messier's book. And as I am driving on to Thursday to South Carolina, I am going to listen to his book and piss off my mother, but just say I want to listen about Mark Messier. So there we go. And I just want to do it just because it's going to piss my mother off. She can't.
Yo,
She's got to listen to sports. She has to listen to sports with me. There's nothing else that she can. That's what we grew up fucking listening to. We're listening to sports. So
I did not know that. See, that's what happens when you watch and listen to the sports bar here at WTF Nation Radio. You learn shit.
yeah,
Yo, thank you. Hey,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. Actually, before I tell you anything, I want to highlight David Cunningham's uh comment here. He said Colin Powell's "It Worked for Me" is a great book. That's on my list. I haven't read it, but if I were to unlock my phone, yeah, I have a list of books that I like to read. That is on my list. Everything I've heard about General Powell has been fantastic.
It's been a while since I've heard about him. Was he? He passed away, but last I heard, was he still part of the whites? Part of the racial draft? Did that ever get finalized?
I don't know.
Because you guys got OJ back, right?
Hey, I, I saw the setup coming.
And on that, just so that we don't get zucked, I might just go ahead and do that and finish off the rest of the time. So listen, Mr. Ballbag, I've had you on for an absolute hour, but I cannot do you anymore. So here we go,
Hey.
ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, did we have a show since the roast of Tom Brady? I don't think we did.
No, we have not.
We might save that for the end, depending on how much time we have.
Oh, fucking America's a
Travis Kelce for president. I have a video. Let's take a look at this video. Let's see. That didn't work the way that I needed it to work, so we're gonna do this different. All right. My producer did not produce this show properly today. All right. So we're gonna get here. I gotta find it now. All right, it's up here. I gotta pause it. Okay, so the Kansas City Chiefs are like a cheat code, essentially. Andy Reid and the squad has won championships here. They end up going back to back. I don't know if they're favorites to win again and do a three-peat, but Patrick Mahomes has three over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
He's
3 out of 4.
in the talks about possibly catching up to Brady. Brady's got 7. Okay. And the Chiefs can do it with defense as long as they still have Patty Mahomes. Because they didn't have a lighted up offense this year. All the balls that they were dropping, I mean, they didn't win because of Mahomes. They won. I mean, he took them over the top. Don't get me wrong. But the Chiefs defense actually played really
Yeah.
well.
And Kelce stepped up big time, but
Mhm.
Kelsey's also a case of a been there, done that, and he did step up big time in the Super Bowl.
Yep. Now, last year, when the Chiefs did their White House visit, Travis Kelce stepped up, and you could tell he was about to say something either smart, I ain't gonna say smart, entertaining, or ignorant, and he quickly got ushered away by Patrick Mahomes. So let's watch what happened in 2023.
So I've been waiting for this. Sorry.
So you can tell that was completely unplanned. He get up to the podium and he's like, "So I've been waiting for this." And Patrick Mahomes quickly came over. You see other people here that looks like, "Hey, man, I don't know what this fool about to do," and everybody's laughing and chuckling or whatnot. So Kelce didn't get the opportunity to say what he wanted to say. Well, when you're as good as the Chiefs and you have Mahomes at quarterback, you make it back to the White House. So let's hear what Travis Kelce finally had to say.
Travis, come here.
Fellow Americans, it's nice to see you all yet again. I'm not going to lie, President Biden, they told me if I came up here I'd get tased, so I'm going to go back to my spot.
I'm not going to front. If I get the chance to get up to this podium and say my fellow Americans in front of people, I might do it too. Did I lose you, Coach?
No, King, echo.
Oh, I know why.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Go ahead.
Gotcha. All right, better. Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat. My fellow Americans.
Now,
yeah.
Who?
No, in a heartbeat.
What president to you is famous for saying the quote? Because I think we're going to say two different presidents.
All right. For me, it's Barry. Barry's number one. Well, my fellow Americans, I'm here to announce to you that I have done something stupid, and Michelle Obama is really Michael. I mean, I'm sorry, but Barack is one, but my fellow American, I can't do Reagan. I used to be able to do Reagan. Reagan was the other one. Reagan would be the two. Yeah, I can't. Obama's the one. Hands down was Obama.
Obama's is the one that carries because he says it so smooth to me. All right. But after, I like the way that old Clinton would say the words, my fellow Americans.
My fellow Americans, tune into ICE and CQ. It's been a while since I've called in. Oh God,
that was good. That was good.
Oh jeez. You know what's funny? You know how I found out the verdict? I have been like, I'm not saying advert, or I'm not. I just say I am so out of touch with news because I really just don't give a shit about it anymore. And truthfully, I am happy about a little bit of the fact that I have options of not watching or accessing these news, outlets. I'm glad I live a life outside of them, unlike others. But that being said, I found out about the guilty verdict as I was going on Reddit and going to the Army the Army Reddit to see if they had Mr. Ballbag up there yet, or it was something on there, and I saw it on R Scotland saying, local local golf course owner found guilty 38 times for whatever.
Nice.
And I realized they were talking about Trump because he owns a fucking golf course over in Scotland.
Nice headline.
That's kind of, you know what? I'm glad that's the way I find out about world events now. And I'm so glad that something that was so historic went over like a fart in church. Nobody gave a
David.
That's how indifferent everybody is about this. We literally kangaroo court a president to be guilty, and he probably was guilty, but so was the fucking people trying him, and so were the people pushing him. But we kangaroo court, and this fucking historic moment went down like fucking nothing. Nobody gave a fuck.
Nope. Nope. And the jacked up part about it too is this. It's interesting because we're gonna talk about, the haves, the have nots, the privileged and the unprivileged later on today. Like it highlights when you have name and notoriety, depending on how your notoriety is, it can either catapult you or cause you to live a life of luxury that the average person's just not going to understand. Because I'm sitting here thinking about this. If I, King Smith, U.S. Air Force veteran who once held a top secret SCI clearance, did any of the shit that current congressmen, presidents, have been accused of doing, I know the extent of the law is going to come down on me because I have zero notoriety. I have negative notoriety and fame. All right. And I'm not going to be given a second chance if classified documents were left out. I'm not going to be given a second chance if I run into the back of somebody driving a Lamborghini because I'm twice the legal freaking alcohol limit in Vegas, and I kill a 23-year-old student and her dog at 3 in the morning, probably getting a blowjob, as I'm speeding down the road. I know I'm not going to be classified as a guy that can work in the governor's mansion. It's not going to happen for me. All right. So when the guilty verdict came back, I laughed and I said, he might win because of this. He might win
You know what?
because of this.
It's true. And you know why? Because we want to see what a fucking president who's been elected that's behind jail is actually going to do and what this clown show is going to be. People are voting just for the clown show. Maybe so that we can actually fucking show the rest of the world how big of a clown these people are. And maybe that's the reason why we do it.
I got asked about
Yeah, I mean, honest to God, with the way everything is going, it's happened before. I don't know if it will ever happen to both parties. But don't rule out the possibility of the two nominees that win their nominations from there, when they're announced, are not the two nominees on the ballot. It's happened before. All I'm saying is that has happened before, not both of them, but I do believe there is somebody who won the primary, and then whoever won the primary dropped out, and then somebody else ran. I don't know if they were elected or not, but I do know that that's happened before. And I can see where both of the people who are rightfully there are not the names on the ballot. And if that is the case, it would be unbelievably interesting to see how many Republicans still vote for the Republican candidate. Because if it's not Biden, the person who is going to be replacing Biden is going to have a base that is going to continue to support whomever the next person up is. You realize that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
David,
So basically,
go ahead.
basically, we could have our cake because both of those knuckleheads could not be on there, but then the Democrats would end up winning. And it would happen. It will definitely happen.
Okay. David asked if I've seen the new Red 34 hat. I tried Googling that and I couldn't figure out what you might have been talking about, David. So if you give me some new search terms, I'll look it up and display it here on the screen. He also said, yep, I'd be in jail just like the Air National Guard guy that shared top secret documents while gaming. That goofball. Oh, man, hold on. Let me get the Mario.
Yeah, Discord clout. Good old boy for Discord clout. Yeah.
Yep. Now, there was something else that I want to bring up here before we move forward. It was something that you talked about. Oh, David said I also didn't see Rice at the White House. Nope. Nope. All right, let's see what we've got here next. Speaking of people getting convicted and serving jail time, Henry Ruggs. All right, let's bring up the picture of the accident that occurred just so that y'all can understand what went down, and y'all tell me if this is just even right here. So give me a second to produce this, right? We're a two-man show over here, so we have to get everything done on our own. All right. So I'm going to display this.
And really, it's a one-man show because I'm on the other side of the glass and I can't do diddly shit.
David said, I think the next person up for the Democrats is Newsom. I'm gonna just all right. Looking at this, okay, this car right here, and this car. These were the two cars that were driven by. I want to make sure I say her name. I think she deserves to have her name said. So let me go look this up here. While I do that, Coach, give the people a background on who Henry Ruggs is and what went down.
All right. Well, if I am remembering correctly, and I truly am remembering this, he was 150. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, 156 mile an hour drunk driving. Back in 2003, he was caught and had a car crash. This is the result of the car crash that killed 23-year-old Tina Tinter and her dog. Ruggs' blood alcohol level was a 0.16, twice the legal limit. At that time, Ruggs was playing for the Oakland. No, excuse me. They were Vegas at that time.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the national championship team in 2018, and he was selected by the Raiders in 2020. Good enough?
Yep.
Right,
so good enough. Yep. So when this happened, it occurred earlier in the morning, November 2nd.
November 2nd, 2021. Thank you. Yeah.
And it is estimated that just before impact, he tried to slow down. He was going approximately 100 and something miles an hour, 158 miles per hour estimate. And at the time of impact, he slowed down to 121. All right. And Tina Tinter, a 23-year-old Las Vegas resident, and her dog had died in that wreck. And the way that the coroner had said that she died, here it is. Tinter died from thermal injuries due to a motor vehicle collision. The coroner's office also determined that significant conditions contributing to her death were inhalation of products of combustion, fractures of the nasal bones, right-sided ribs and left forearms, and a left hemothorax, hemothorax is a collection of blood in the space between the chest wall and lungs. So while she was sitting in her RAV4 that got collided against from Rugg's Corvette, she burned to death. She burned alive, right? And the reason why this burns me up, and I should have chose different words on that. Let me take that back. The reason why this one makes me a little bit angry, I shared earlier in the stream, I have a daughter who's about to get her license. She's 16, about to be 17. She hasn't gotten her license or her learner's permit yet, but she's about to be on the road, right? I have told her, coach, I try not to be on the road between the hours of 11 and 5 a.m. I know the type of people that are typically out between the hours of 11 and 5 a.m. Okay. So I would highly suggest to my daughter to also not be on the road between the hours of 11 and 5 a.m. Okay. When this happened, it was stupid early in the morning, and this lady died while just getting home or going
Mhm.
wherever it was that she was going, waiting on the traffic light. And even if you're sitting there and you're looking at the rearview mirror while it's still, dark outside, you're likely not going to have enough time to accelerate and move out the way to look as you're looking at your mirror to see a car blasting down the road at 150 some miles an hour.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Oh God, you know what that kind of reminds me of? You ever see the show The Boys on Amazon?
Yes.
You remember the
I can't
first episode? You
the
remember the first episode when
Yep, very first episode when Speedy Gonzalez ran through old girl. My mouth, when that show came out and I saw that scene,
oh
my mouth was like this. I was like,
oh yeah yeah
what?
yeah yeah that was like, oh shit, that's the kind of show that this is gonna be. Oh, this is gonna be fucking unreal. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That and that's the sad thing is that we're looking at this and somebody's life was lost like that. But that's unfortunately what I kind of thought of at that same time too, when somebody is hit like that with what the plausible impact of something like that could be. And it's absolutely ridiculous that a human life could be just taken just immediately like that.
It's scary. Like the thought of my daughter being on the road with knuckleheads
Yeah.
scares me. I'm a safe driver. People laugh at me because I used to own a Dodge Charger. All right. And I got so many damn speeding tickets in that thing. I now drive a Ford Fusion hybrid. Right. I tell you, in the few years that I owned my Charger, bro, I got pulled over so many times. It's ridiculous. I can count past my two hands here how many times I got pulled over while driving my Charger. Since I've owned my Ford Fusion hybrid, zero. I've owned it since COVID year. So 2020, zero. That's how many times I've
Yeah,
been pulled over since. And I think 13. 13 in the 3 years that I owned my Charger.
man.
Um eh,
You know, I don't know
eh,
how the hell you can, man. I don't know how the hell you can. Here, man. I've All right. So I drive a Suzuki Sidekick, or
mhm.
no, excuse me, a Suzuki SXR. This thing is like a little freaking hatchback key car, but it's an all-wheel drive. I can get that thing up on this little like 1.6 liter fucking V4 up to like 90. I barely go anywhere around 80 because it feels a little fucked up, but I can go 80 miles an hour in a straight line, but I can also go 80 miles an hour in the fucking turn and not lose anything because of the low center of gravity and shit. I have not gotten pulled over for speeding at all on this damn thing. It is the most inconspicuous fucking car ever whatsoever, but that thing is so nimble and quick that I haven't gotten pulled over in that thing yet. But I think going at 80 as its absolute max is what I will absolutely keep it underneath. I will not go above 80 miles an hour on that thing.
Man, yeah. I used to drive fast, but after paying as much as I did in speeding tickets, I've learned that it's just not worth it. And two,
Yeah.
I'm more of a defensive driver now, right? Because I posted up on my stories, and I wish, do I have time to bring it up if I could bring it up? because
Man, we got all the fucking time. I've got nothing else to do.
So
So
I'm
why
gonna
not?
see if I can bring up this video. I had this lady almost run me off the road, and I have a dash cam. And this lady was driving, and for what I could tell, was distracted in her phone because once she tried to get over like this, I blew my horn immediately. And instead of getting back in her lane, she still fucking comes over. And I'm sitting here like, I I can't believe this just happened. And the crazy part about it, coach, is if I'm able to bring up the video, if I didn't hit my brakes, now I looked quickly, saw that there
Mhm.
weren't any cars behind me, so I had the ability to brake. But if I would have kept accelerating or not noticed her coming into my lane,
Yeah.
I would have likely hit her in a way that it would have fucked up her car more than it would have fucked up me, right? And I'm just
Oh
like,
no shit.
what was worth it to her that even with me blowing my horn the way that I did, she
Yeah.
still thought it was just safe to go, I'm still going to come over. So uh, I eventually, like after I slowed down, I got in the other lane, I sped up. She's just like this in her phone, driving. And
Jesus Christ.
I was just like, oh, you know what? So I said I shouldn't be next to her. So I sped up and I said, if I get pulled over, I don't mind explaining that, hey, I was just driving behind a fucking idiot who could have got me, and I needed to separate myself from her.
Yeah.
Where did I post it? You know, I posted it in a way that I'm not going to be able to bring it up. But Henry Ruggs, after I showed y'all that video of the two cars in which he killed somebody, right? This is where he's working at now. For $2.50 a day, while he's serving his 8-year sentence, I'm sorry, $2.50 an hour. He's working with other inmates in the governor's office in Carson City, right? Where the Nevada's governor's mansion is located. Pictured on the screen is said governor's mansion. All right.
Mhm.
So the Department of Corrections spokesperson didn't exactly detail what Henry Ruggs was doing, but that he's one of a handful of inmates that is assigned there. Okay. So the where Ruggs is incarcerated at is called the Stewart Conservation Camp, which is 5 miles from the governor's mansion. It has a capacity of 360 inmates with a staff of 15 Department of Corrections employees. People that are housed there are classified as Department of Corrections Administrative Regulations 51 classifies them as community trustee inmates. And people that get that designation represent a limited potential to misbehave and represent a low risk to escape while assigned to employment within the community. So you get to do slave work at $2.50 an hour, essentially. Some of the people are firefighters, right? Some of the inmates
Mhm.
are firefighters. Some of the other inmates are assigned to a local ranch in which they grow alfalfas and they operate a dairy and raise cattle. And others work to train horses for adoption through the Bureau of Land Management's Wild Horse and Burro
Mhm.
program. Okay, so you get work out of these people that were convicted of something. They're not slaves because they're being paid a wage.
Hey.
But I think it's wild that you could go out drinking, get convicted of the lesser charge of vehicular manslaughter,
Mhm.
get less than 10 years for somebody that was barely over the age of 20. And while you're doing your time, serve in the governor's mansion doing something like I imagine him not in like a jumpsuit, but something more dignified doing work around the mansion.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just it
I
baffles me.
I get it. I get it. I get it. You know, human rights violations are a shitty thing. I know it's slave labor, and I know what he's doing is working around the governor's mansion and doing things like that. But man, you really walk a delicate fine line. You know, there's a lot of things that I have to say about America. And it's true about a lot of the things that we have, that cheap labor is what built this country, and it always has. It always has brought us forward, and that cheap labor didn't come easy. It either came in the North by immigrants who didn't have that much and were making as much little as they could to try to make what they could, and being extorted and mafia and stuff like that. Come on, the Irish or the oppressed, etc. All of them didn't have it, but you know, it was cheap type of labor that built a lot of this. The cheap type of labor is what built the vast majority of the great stuff that's happening all around the world. Next time you go to Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, etc., find out how all of that great shit that they're supposed to be building is getting built. You'll never wonder about that again. But that being the same, we also do have to treat them humanely. So if this guy's moving around the governor's office, he's not in the middle of a 130-degree desert being freaking used as a construction person to live in a shanty and being held there against his will. That's indentured servitude, and that's not something that we do. Do I think there should be something a little bit more productive that he could be doing? Hell the fuck yes. But can I bring this back to sports? Because I'm about to say something positive about the University of Alabama.
Bill,
Listen to this.
Before you do, I didn't even realize that David Cunningham was going to bring in Django Unchained. I was looking for this
Oh, dear
live
God.
photo of Henry Rugg looking at the governor's mansion. Oh man, that is hilarious, David. I promise you, I didn't even see your comment when I was looking this up. But that is hilarious. David is, you know what? He's going to be honorary producer of the show today because that was spot on.
Oh, damn, man. Oh, dear God. I can't tell that story on here. I definitely can't tell that story on here. Oh,
That's hilarious.
may I talk about positively about the University of Alabama?
Oh, please.
I know, this is extremely rare, and with how much shit I talk, I do want to mention something right here. I have just been looking because I went onto Wikipedia to remind myself about the background of Mr. Ruggs. And I stumbled upon the national champions of the past however many years. I'm looking at BCS, etc. I'm on that little end part on Wikipedia that has the indexes, right? So, just for a little bit of fun, as we were talking, I looked through the rosters of the college football playoff system of rosters. Okay, of the national champions, and I wanted to see the rosters and the collection of talent that was on their roster at that time, just to see how good they were and kind of who was the best. And as you look back in history of how good these players were of that collection of talent, you know what I'm talking about, right? All right, so I am looking back, and out of all the teams, this 2017 Bama team had by far the best roster in the college football playoff era. Best roster, period. 3 NFL quarterbacks, 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa. All 3 of them on that team. 2, or I think 3 Pro Bowl running backs. Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson Jr., as well as, I believe, Damian Harris, who was also in the NFL as well. Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, and Cam Sims, I know, was on that team as well. And Calvin Ridley was also on that team. And I know that he was there for 2 of them. He was on the Titans. Man, and then Deontay Brown, a couple other names that I am seeing on here as far as the defense, like Quinnen Williams. Thank you very much for that one out there. Was on that team. And oh God, there's like a slew. There's a couple of the names that I had. Tavon Diggs was on that team. There's some players that are on here that have been in Pro Bowls. And there are still people off of that one on here. And I could tell you that I think this team was the best team, looking back at it, with the best collection of players in the college football playoff era. I will say that. I am strong enough to say that right there, buddy.
I agree. The 2015 roster wasn't as stacked in the college football playoff era. So this is post BCS national championship.
Yeah, this is starting.
I'd agree with that.
This is starting from Ohio State. So Ohio State, Bama. You had the first Clemson year with Deshaun, the Bama year with Tua, the next Clemson year with Lawrence, the Joe Burrow year at LSU in 2019, and then you had Bama 2020. You had Georgia back-to-back 21-22, and then just Michigan.
Yep.
So yeah, I've got to say this is going that might be, out of every single one of them, this is by far now been the best one.
Let's stop the show here for pop culture. So y'all still live? This must be a pre-record. Hey, we got to make up for being off the entire month of May.
Yeah, I know. Jesus Christmas, we did this an entire month.
So Henry Ruggs, I like the kid. One mistake shouldn't ruin your life, yet you did ruin a family's life by them losing their kid. And there's plenty of examples before Henry Ruggs and even afterwards, right? The Rashee Rice, the Javon Carter incident down in Georgia, that these kids just it's not clicking. They get this fame to their head, they get access to events and things, and I think that they just think that they're above life itself, right?
Yep.
And they make bad choices. Coach Saban, well, I guess you can't call retired Coach Saban now. This is sad. Like, saying that just brought me down a bit. He was just on a he was doing a circuit where he was asked about something about taking responsibility or accountability. This was just like last week, and he didn't name Rugg specifically, but he talked about the instance, and he said, accountability and courage is being able to have your friends tell you something that you should not do, or step in and like take your keys from you. Like, I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said. And then he went on to say, I'm not going to name the individual, but he got into an accident at a high rate of speed. He said his friends failed him. At what point should your friends go, hey, you should not be driving, and they go and take your keys to prevent you from driving? He said, I've always been the person that if I saw something that wasn't right, I was doing something about it. And that's where you have to have the courage to be able to do that, because he said, Coach Saban said, I can only imagine that people didn't want to be the one to speak up to their friends. They didn't want to be the one to be the buzzkill, right? And stop another grown person from doing something. So I think you have to have the courage. You know how they say, if you see something, say something, and stop that. Because I'm gonna tell you right now. Let me zoom in and make myself big on this screen.
Go ahead, buddy. In fact, actually, I'm gonna mute myself because I got to do something.
If you are the idiot that drives behind a car drunk and kill my little girl, you better wear a bulletproof vest, for the rest of your life. Understand when I say that. Life's about the choices that you make, and that is a preventable choice. There's a big difference from you're driving down the road, your brakes fail, right? And you can't stop the car, or you can't figure out how to hit the e-brake or whatever, and you run and something tragic happens. That's a big difference. But drinking and being distracted like that, I have zero tolerance for. Okay? So if you're the person that does that and you take away somebody I love, the rest of your life you better look over your shoulder. I don't care what happens to me at that point. Especially if you only get 10 years. And especially if I found out that you're working inside of the governor's mansion in AC in Las Vegas. Oh my goodness. Hold the rage. Temper it down. Okay. Coach, I'm back.
Hey, buddy.
David said, I always make myself the designated driver when I was in the military to take care of my my fellow troops. Hey, I like to partake in adult beverages, but I also had a plan. I also saw, let me just be frank here. I saw officers, because I was in a primarily officer heavy career. I was in aviation, right? Aviation's mostly pilots. I was an enlisted aviator. I saw officers get caught with a DUI and get what I thought was a slap on the wrist, versus your enlisted people that get a DUI and they have zero chance of having a career after that. Zero chance. And I'm always about seeing things and having things apply and be fair. And the funny part about life is, if you live life long enough, you realize life's not fair. There's a different justice system based on a lot of different factors that I won't get into. But it was one of those things that I was like, if I ever get into a DUI, I know my career is done. So guess what King doesn't do? King doesn't drink and drive. All right? I understand the rules for thee don't apply to me. So I have a plan. I catch an Uber. Oh man. Yeah. All right. My bad. Last topic for today. Actually, we got two more topics. Yikes. Let's get
no worries, buddy. No worries. We haven't been on in a while, so we're good.
I gotta get some sleep. But we're gonna go out of order.
I got the advantage of working from home, thank God.
I do, yes. But hey, I mean, Coach Ben, I'm also trying to, get the proper sleep. I have an announcement that I might make a little bit later on. I can't really say anything now because nothing has happened, but I'm doing some things that isn't talked about among the military and men. And I might open up myself and talk about it here in the future. But let's go out of order here and let's talk about Mike Tyson. Iron Mike Tyson. Osteoporosis Mike, right? The fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was scheduled to be on Netflix as a live event. It has now been postponed, which I said, I don't think the fight is actually going to happen. I think that Tyson's going to realize that it's not in the cards for him. The last time he's won a professional fight, because this one was billed as it was going to be sanctioned as a professional fight, was the year after I graduated high school in 2003. Okay. With Jake Paul being as athletic as he is and younger, and Mike being what, 50, 58? Somewhere around there. This felt like it seemed like it was going to be just hey, let's make this pretty for people because they're friends. I don't think people realize that. They are friends. You used to talk about Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson hated anybody he was fighting against. But the fact that him and Jake Paul are friends and business associates, I wasn't really interested in watching it in the first place because I didn't see it actually being competitive. I think they were trying to do all of the things to market to make it competitive, but it wasn't going to happen.
Sorry.
It's been released that Mike Tyson is dealing with an ulcer that has acted up. So the fight that was billed to be live on July 20th, if I understand it correctly, it's being postponed. The entire fight's being postponed.
Yep.
So let me see if I can bring this up here. So while I do, what say you, Coach?
All right. So, all right. I'm going to give a little bit of theater of the arts approach on this. Mike Tyson's a legitimate fighter. Everybody kind of knows that they want to see a legitimate type of thing when it comes down now to Jake Paul, especially when it comes down, or which Paul am I talking about?
It's Jake.
Okay, Jake Paul, yeah. Jake Paul wants legitimate fights so he can legitimize himself and say that he's a boxer and then legitimize more of his fights. I get it. Tyson's willing to oblige. Tyson's willing to oblige to do stuff for his friends, and I get that he wants to do it, but a type of injury like this gives them an avenue of an out to make it an exhibition. And I say theater of the arts is the fact that not that they can't bill it as a fight, but they can now not have to worry about all of the other stuff that is necessary to promote the fight as a sanctioned legitimate fight. There's a lot more logistics involved than there are as an exhibition fight. You see where I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
There's also an out in the fact that it was because of medical reasons, not because of Mike Tyson's choice, that Mike Tyson did not get into a competitive fight. Thus, the last time that he did win was 2003, and it's not like he can get out of it. But if he wins in a and look, I'm giving a professional wrestling spin on this and a what if. If he wins an exhibition match, he basically does the end of Rocky Balboa, the alternate ending that nobody really saw. He loses. Paul legitimizes himself just like Mason the Line Dixon. And Tyson goes out into Rocky, and then I don't know. He fucking trains up Evander Holyfield's illegitimate fucking child. You know, a half white Lennox Lewis kid.
I can't see the reason why most valuable promotions would even want to promote that at this point. Mike Tyson's birthday is
Because
coming up
Mike Tyson still puts butts in seats.
even at almost 58.
Yes.
I
Mike Tyson still puts butts in seats. That's the reason
stupid.
for it. He's legitimized. He's a legend. It's boxing, man. Boxing is a world. That's just like the other sports, like with hockey. Boxing's kind of another sport where those that are into it are really, really into it. But we're really not into it on a day-to-day basis. You see where I'm getting at with that? And I think it's kind of a on-off, and we really need to kind of learn ourselves all over again anytime something's happening in boxing. Like I have no idea what the hell happened this past weekend. Some dude like was apparently 60 pounds more, and apparently Deontay Wilder lost. Okay, if I'm right. And
Yep.
this is
Yeah,
like,
he got it.
yeah, and this should be Deontay Wilder's last match. He should call it. He should be retired after that because he had his fights with that. But outside of that, I don't know diddly poo outside of boxing. You know, you see where I get at with that, man? And
Yeah,
it's
just
just like but but I mentioned mentioned Mark Messier, right?
Mhm.
Okay, Messier in hockey terms is considered more prestigious. Probably amongst hockey is definitely well known, and but he doesn't have the global reach of a Mike Tyson, right?
Mhm.
Mike Tyson's known outside of boxing. Great fucking example. If he didn't own the fucking company now, if Dwayne Johnson said he was going to be at WrestleMania fucking a year or 2 years in advance, guarantee you that WrestleMania would have been sold out if they had put those tickets on the next day in advance, 2 years in advance, or
I
at
think
least they would have had something. They would have had that draw of doing that. Mike Tyson is that type of butts and seats thing because back in the day he drew the people. He's known outside of it, and everybody still wants that curiosity thing, much in the same way of why are we going to elect somebody who's probably going to be behind jail or another one who's going to be behind the fucking padded cell. We're curious if we want to see what the fuck it's going to happen. And yes, we want to pay some money to see it or stream it illegally.
yeah. I mean, look, if it's free on Netflix, I'm checking it out. If it's something that I gotta pay for, I'm not doing it.
Oh,
They
man. And I got a recommendation actually for you too.
okay, let's hear
All
it.
right. So there is a YouTuber, 5 Point Vids or something like that, and he does sports videos, does some pretty good compilation types of videos, but he was talking about the streaming cost of the NFL, and in actuality, you could pay if you wanted to watch all of the NFL games for the year $1,000 between all of the things if you bought it in full.
I've seen that graphic. Yes.
And then on top of that, he floated the idea, but it is kind of true. In these areas that aren't there's about 12% of America that doesn't get broadband internet, right?
Okay.
So all of these rural and a little bit of downtrodden areas is the best way I could say it. You're basically getting rid of 12% of the fucking NFL audience right there, not giving a shit about them. And then at one point, you are basically telling people that you, in an area that you're at, aren't going to be able to see the freaking Super Bowl over the TV, but instead you're going to have to buy a streaming service and watch it on a streaming service. You're essentially making the Super Bowl a pay per view.
I can agree with that, man. And also too, when I looked at where they were going to house the games here coming up, when some's going to be on Amazon, some's going to be on this platform, and these are going to be on Peacock. I'm just sitting here like I'm starting to get to where with the price of eggs being $3 an egg essentially,
Yeah.
gas prices the way that they are, I'm starting to be like, hey, look, King is starting to cut some things, And if I'm being honest,
Okay.
streaming is going to be the first to
Yes.
go.
Yes. Now there's some streaming things that I am thinking of stuff that I can not have. I can say that I will keep Paramount. I got to keep it. I'm going to end up keeping Amazon because Amazon is tied to the Prime. It's
Yeah,
always
I'm
tied to
already
the
paying
shipping.
for it.
You're
Yes.
already paying for it. Everybody just basically assumes you're going to fucking do it, especially if you're part of Amazon Prime. The Disney Plus is the one I am truly saying that, but mine comes with ESPN, so there's my live sports on some of the outlets. I am truly thinking about freaking Peacock, Paramount Plus, Hulu, and freaking Netflix of saying fuck them. To be
Hey,
honest with you, and I get you
getting
on that,
close.
but then the Peacock one kills me. Here's Peacock, and this is why it gets me. You get the freaking Thursday night football games. You get all of the NFL games on Sunday night football, and that's how I watch some of the times on freaking if my spectrum's getting messed up. Then they're going to have the Olympics, and they're going to have every freaking thing. They're not going to. You want to see the dildo throwing track and field event and see if the Estonian can throw a giant dong over 50 meters? Well, it'll probably be on Peacock. So Peacock's making a great case for it. Paramount's got one thing. It's got Blue Bloods, and it's also got some of the NFL games.
I like
And
Blue
if
Bloods.
yeah, and if you're in, and if you're, they will show you're in market. So if you want to go and VPN it, you can VPN to a different market and watch the game in there. That's a useful way of getting it. But Paramount Plus now is another one. Fox doesn't show shit. And the Fox Sports app is like about as useful as old websites like eBombs World. But the other ones, Netflix has got to get going with this, but I really don't see any type of value with what Netflix is doing. All right, the first live thing that they had, they're trying to get this. It's going to be delayed. They're trying to do a game on one of the days, but
What?
then the first thing that they had live was this shit with Tom Brady. And
Yeah.
while it was good and it had its pain and moments, I think it just made it as stupid and showed how fucking soft America is. You goddamn pussies.
Huh. I thought they pushed the envelope a bit.
Oh no, I thought they did. I thought the reaction just showed that America's full of pussies.
Ah, okay. Got you. Got you. David said that Netflix is free with T-Mobile cell service. It is. It's not free. It's because I pay for the premium version of Netflix, so it's offset. What's the word I'm thinking of? Where you
Ad supported.
have not ad supported. Like when you pay a reduced rate on something. Yeah,
Bundled.
I guess like offset is the word. So like
Bundled. It was bundled together.
yeah, like it's free for regular, but if you do premium, you have to
Oh,
pay like an extra
upgraded. Yeah,
$5.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah. And,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and, and and I used to share my Netflix with my family, and then Netflix cracked down on that. Hulu, I have to give them props. Can I say this very publicly? You know what? I am.
Well,
Whatever.
I don't, but
I
I
don't
could
I
go
don't pay
ahead.
for Hulu. I use somebody else's Hulu, and I'm not going to say who it is, but thank you for
You
letting
know
me
what?
use your Hulu.
I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but if you look at Hulu, they're transferring a lot of the Hulu titles onto Disney Plus and building up that library.
Oh,
I have a feeling because Disney owns, I believe, the vast majority of Hulu. I don't know. I don't remember how that whole thing was set up, but I believe there's going to be the Hulu and Disney Plus are going to combine itself into a service. And that is where you're going to have your local ABC out of.
I can see that.
So that's going to leave Fox in the absolute shitter.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I can see that because right now Walt Disney it has a 33% stake in Hulu. All right.
Okay.
And NBC Universal,
Peacock.
following the put call arrangement between those two companies. Okay, the acquisition of Comcast stake in Hulu at fair market value will further Disney's streaming objectives. Yeah, hey, yeah. I think
Yeah.
you're looking at something and calling something that that is going to happen.
And when that does happen, that means, and hear me out on this, you are now going to start seeing possibly a conglomeration of different media supported apps as far as branding, where ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Hulu combine into a overall Disney Plus that becomes like Paramount, like Peacock, and like Hulu, where they're able to show live television through these different avenues, and it's all going to become Disney. Remember, out of everything, the big fucking mouse always wins in the end.
Wow, man, listen to these numbers. Disney, which last announced that it would pay Comcast 8.6 billion for its stake in Hulu, which if it did, it would then give them 100% ownership of Hulu's streaming platform. They're still trying to get the final numbers. Disney and Comcast in 2019 entered a deal that stated that Hulu had a floor valuation of 27.5 billion,
Yeah.
an amount that Disney continues to stick with, while Comcast now believes Hulu, with its 50 million paid subscribers, is worth an additional 13 billion and around 40 billion dollars. All right. So since both parties can agree on the appraisal, the matter is going to be headed to the courts. And just like you said,
Yeah.
man, the mouse is going to win in the end. All
And,
right.
and and you know what? I am going to think of this, and I say it this way: with all of these Hulu things being brought over into Disney Plus into their library, it is basic. Yeah, and that's where we're coming from on this, Dave. Where they're going to combine Hulu into Disney Plus. Look where all of that builds up liability and puts up their sole proprietary. They're building their freaking case right in front of us on these streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
They truly are. And you know what? It's going to be the day where Monday Night Football, you're going to have to scroll past the fucking Mandalorian on Disney Plus in order to see it. Now, look, I got no problem scrolling right past Tom Selleck as police chief or as police commissioner Reagan to go watch the Jets. But man, Amazon's going to make it pretty freaking hard on us because they're also getting into another couple of ones, man. And, 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 you know, I hate this part that we're all paying for these own services that we used to get for free. I hate that right now we're in this transition period between the cable outlets and the streaming outlets basically having zero interaction and two levels of interactivity is the best way I could say it. You know where I'm getting from on this?
Mm-hmm.
If y'all don't know about Major League Baseball right now, there are towns where people who are living in the town, because of the ridiculous blackout restriction and the way that they are managed, they cannot see a single game on their televisions whatsoever. And on top of that, too, the only viable option for them to do anything is to stream it. But because of the local blackout rules, they have to VPN to another location and watch it as an out of market game. in their own market. All this because nobody wants to freaking broadcast over antennas anymore.
Yep, it's got its pros and cons, man. But hey, eventually, to me, it's gonna come down to price. Like, I got rid of cable because of how outrageous cable prices was, right? And the streaming prices had an advantage, and now they've came in. More people are streaming. The broadband companies are saying that, hey, there's a cost associated with all this extra streaming that everybody's doing, so we're gonna jack up the prices. Putting money into the fat cat's pocket, and eventually people are gonna be like, hey, screw streaming. I'm done with this shit.
You know what would be the next great business venture?
Hmm.
Everything is about expansion, then consolidation, right?
Yep.
So how do you consolidate all of these streaming platforms together? How do you, consolidate? I'm not going to say consolidate the resources into one, but consolidate the access much in the same way cable companies do. I wonder if somebody would come up with some type of software, proprietary or algorithm or whatever program, that carried a unique username and ID tied to an account that had access to each one of the streaming services that you are going to have. You pay them a reduced rate, and through that reduced rate, they negotiate the access with these streaming platforms and bundle all the access to your Netflix, to this, within one simplified bill at a cheaper rate in mass.
I'm trying to figure out who would have the pockets to do that.
Oh, there's somebody who would have the pockets to do it. You
Elon.
would have to do it in. My thing is the way to do it would have to be in economy, and trying to do that economy would have major media conglomerates fighting against you. If you could bundle, let's just say, access to Netflix, and you a la carte all this into one package. You bundle your Netflix, your Hulu, your Disney Plus, your Paramount Plus, your Peacock, your freaking Fox, your YouTube TV, your Philo, your whatever streaming thing is, and you a la carte it at a cheaper rate and bundle it all together into one access point, and you only pay one fucking service per month for all of those other services. It's the same thing as cable is right now. But what kind of fucking convenience would we have if that was what we would pay every month for all of the streaming places that we have, instead of
Yeah.
having to pay for 25 different fucking things to watch the Yankees when I should just be able to do it over an antenna?
Yeah. Let me do
And
something.
you know what? I know that this is now turning into a smoke bit session. But this might even be a Friday Night Freedom one. But this is something that actually is going up through Congress right now and has to deal with the electric cars. So here's another free service that might be going obsolete. And if it does, it is going to cause, some ridiculous bullshit. AM radio is now not being installed on multiple vehicles, like not even having the antenna, because AM radio's use has been declined over the years for a lot of daggone reasons.
When's the last time you've even turned on AM radio?
Oh, buddy, you're talking to the wrong guy on this one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Okay. No,
my car defaults to AM radio, but I immediately plug in my phone,
It-
and I'm
So
using
it
Apple.
all depends. It all depends. And look, there's different options, but here's my reasoning why I say this. All right. The clear band and a lot of the shit that's on AM is not being used anymore. It's all freaking religious stuff, talk radio. Nobody's playing music on it anymore, but it's a service provider with a great practicality. My thing is that we have radio stations that are called clear band, called mega stations. These are the 50,000 watt stations. The ones I talk about, like WFAN in New York, where because this station operates at 50,000 watts 24/7, I am able to hear it all the way in fucking Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, while they're broadcasting out of New York due to the atmospheric types of things.
Mhm.
These types of radios were being utilized back in the day as what was being brought on the national broadcast level. You had your local media, you had your local stations, but you had your big ones. And that's how something like the fireside chats that the president used to do were listened to by nearly every American, because they would put their AM radio on, listen to one of these clear channel stations, and hear the president's chat on their radio next to their fireside. Now, with the AM radio getting going out of there, stations are now less and less, and there's going to be less AM radio. That being said, there are remote areas where the AM radio stations are the few that are able to reach them in the event of, let's just say, national news or weather related types of things. And you are unable to get them in those areas. It serves a specific purpose. It's just a dying medium that still needs to be utilized, but it's now being forced out. Much in the same way cable's trying to be forced out. We're seeing deaths of different medias right there, and its impact is causing absolute freaking chaos.
Hmm.
All right, so anyway, yeah.
Hey, man, you are the person that has this as something that my car defaults to an AM station that's
Yeah.
very clear, and it's always talking about something, and I only hear it for like the 5 seconds that it's on until I plug in my cell phone and I'm listening to music or YouTube through my cell phone.
Oh, I
And if
get
I'm
it.
not using my cell phone, I'm doing satellite
Now,
radio.
now I will listen. Okay, satellite radio, great. I love it. I love the fact that I can put it on Mad Dog Sports and I can listen to no matter where I'm at. I love that. At the same time, too, WFAN at night or when I'm even driving, because I love driving at night, I can listen to WFAN all the way from North Carolina up to New Jersey. Same station, don't have to change it whatsoever. That type of long distance travel, I kind of love it, and it's specifically for it. But AM radio is freaking useless outside of that. There's no other reason, but it's got a niche, man. It really does. And I also use it because in the morning, they there is only like Fayetteville has a freaking local newspaper that's been bought out by Gannett, and there's no local reporting, nothing whatsoever as far as local news. You get maybe the one or two stories out of the Raleigh news station or the Wilmington news station about what's happening in Fayetteville, and other than that, you really don't get anything else. There's one local show that is every morning, and it's on 640 WFNC AM. Now they just started broadcasting on that HD radio shit, sub channel number 2, but that's another fucking thing. That's like the goddamn laser disc of fucking radio. Who in the fuck knows about HD radio? You know? But I know what I understand the thing, but even they're trying to switch it to these digital subsets and provide that same thing. There's it's because of the frequency that you're using. It's because of the medium. It's not the service. It's the medium is dying, and because the AM medium is dying, you're going to lose a lot of different things too. One of the big things that you're actually going to lose is sports on the radio. Think about this. When you were growing up, how many times did you listen to the game on the radio, or how many times was the game on a radio whenever you were around growing up, right?
Often. Like that was,
Often.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people did that, and that's where the games were on, and they were also on AM radios because it had a further signal right there. You're getting more and more people that are going to FM radio, and nobody's really using the FM radios whatsoever to listen to the games. So you're now having these radio announcers' jobs being heard by a smaller audience, and their job is now going to be impacted where there might not even be a need for radio broadcasts anymore because the television broadcasts can just be digitized and sent over the FM and AM airwaves.
Coach, do you have a radio?
Do I have one? Yes,
Yeah.
I still do. Yes, brother. There's something beautiful about still having stuff that's analog.
You know what?
There is.
There is. Prior to this show going live, I thought we were going to have to cancel again because all my power went out.
Yeah.
Power went out
Okay.
right before I went live, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna suck."
So now look, there's great things about technology. Jesus, we're really turning into a smoke pit episode now. The great thing about technology is that we're able to do something great like this. We broadcast it. People all around the world are able to watch us and talk to us. And Dave is in one area and he's telling us about how AM broadcasts are so good over the Mexican border into the U.S. Yeah. And Dave, like I said, I heard WFAN while I was in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, out of New York. That was, that's a fucking miracle right there. And it's great hearing a lot of those things. And that being said, that's now going to be gone. And to take where the fuck was I going out before? Even though that technology is there, this thing has been dependable. This thing's something that's supportive, and this thing is something that's there as a backup and is dependable and finite and been enriched and nearly dead and buried, but we know exactly how to run it. I would say if we got rid of radio, we basically are doing ourselves completely dishonorable service. It's like all these fucking cars from like 2006, everything has got sensors in it and everything's got something inside the computer. And the reason why we didn't have cars after 2021 for a long time was because they didn't have computer chips. We have now gone to a part where our vehicles are driving us versus us driving our vehicle to the location. The vehicle is, and we have come to that part where where something that's analog, like starting up our daggone vehicles, is being overwritten by the technology.
Yeah,
and you got to have this analog shit inside there because it's technology is not the 100% answer. There's a good blend of it, and we are way too over on the technology side.
I had a car rental last weekend, and my car, for it being a 2020, I thought had all the bells and whistles for a car at its time, and I think it still does. Except I drove a base model Hyundai SUV. I think it was the Hyundai Santa Fe. And this thing, when you put on cruise control, legit drives itself. And I thought my car did a great job of it. But I'm sitting here like I could take my hand off the wheel and it's going down the highway, doing all the curves, adjusting everything on its own. I'm like, yo, this is wild to me. I made the comment to my lady and my daughter. I said I should get a 1990 deuce and a quarter, just so that my daughter can see how hard it was to drive cars, even with power steering back in the day, versus these cars that essentially drive themselves now.
Yeah, and the last 2 cars I purchased this year was my son's Jeep Wrangler, and that's a '99, and my wife's Chevy Equinox, which was a 2022, I believe.
Mhm.
And it has that lane assist, that auto control, and all of that other stuff about going on there on the highway. We were driving over to Bucky's and we're trying to do that. And my son was in the Jeep, and then we were in the Equinox, and we both looked at it and thought of the absolute opposite thing, because that same part of all of that digital technology, my daughter knew how to drive that easily, and she has trouble in the Jeep.
I
My
bet.
son is so used to driving that Jeep right now that he has become such a better driver than my daughter.
I can see that, because let me tell you, I've gotten so my car has the camera that
Yeah,
has the rear view.
the rear
Like,
view, the rear
yep,
backup
yep.
camera. Yeah,
I drove a car that didn't have one, and I was nervous about backing into the garage because I didn't have a camera. Right?
yeah,
I didn't have to worry about that prior to my prior, because my Charger was a 2017, and that had a rear view camera in it, but none of my cars prior to that did. Now the cars got the mirrors that will
hmm
scream at you if somebody's in your blind spot, and you got
yes,
your turn signal on and you're about to go over there. It will yell at you.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I drove a car that didn't have that, and I had a little bit of anxiety about changing lanes. I'm like, wait, it's a
yeah,
like I would look back 3 times before I would actually lane shift. You
yeah.
know,
We
It's
right now
stress.
are right now out teching our society,
Yeah.
and we've got to have a hard shift back. And I think, unfortunately, we've passed that tipping point, but I think we need to plateau the current reliance on technology for a lot of the things, especially, when it comes down to essentials of our daggone life.
Hmm.
That car thing, the cars. I, I could even come into this part right here. I think I am a better driver now because my Suzuki is a stick shift. And when I'm on a stick shift, I know that I have to change the gear and I can't have my hand constantly doing other things. And even though it has cruise control, that's a good option to have. I wish it had Bluetooth. That's a good option to have. But the rear view camera in that car, because the car's so small, really doesn't need that. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? The side warning lanes, I kind of like that, but I don't like the stability thing. I like the lane warning. I like the automatic the auto assist thing for the front. That I do like, the collision thing. But I think there's other things that we've outdone inside it and teched it out on the inside too much.
Yep. And David put up a comment, and I've read this one. Automakers are talking about having self repossession cars for people that are delinquent on payments. Like, man, there's pros and cons to everything. I am a fan of tech. I The Neuralink stuff, sign me up for that. If you can put a chip in me that can do
Oh,
early warning detection for cancer or bullshit that happens
yeah.
in your body, sign me up. I love tech, but I do realize that it's a double edged sword when it comes to some things. And
Well,
I
here's a good one if you want to hear ridiculousness shit about tech.
That's it.
So, in several, I believe it's either in Mercedes or it's in several German cars and other higher end cars, where the options of heated seats are on a subscription service.
I saw. Yes. Yep. It was a German automaker, and it was
Eight,
over in Europe too.
yeah,
Like not
$8 a month to access to the seat heater.
almost everything. I think is going to go towards a subscription service in our lifetime. I think we're going to see subscription services for basic shit.
Hey, so I
Wait,
wonder if if I could add that into my car payments as we go through the options. The options I pay for, does that include the options that you installed? Can you add that access to it as part of the payment, you stingy cunts?
hey, this is not sports related, but I want to bring this up real quick and then swing back to our last story. Um, I don't know the specifics, but I saw the headline, and it's California lawmakers want to replace the current gasoline tax with a new mileage based tax to offset the revenue that's lost because of EVs. And they plan to test this by launching a pilot program August of this year. And
Hey,
they're
look,
essentially and while he
California inherently and geographically have to operate a different way than the rest of America because of the lack of resources available to them cut off by the Rocky Mountains. But that being said, that also basically means that the other side of they are like in another fucking country. They they are the ones that every time you see them at the fucking family reunion, you keep shaking your head and wondering why they keep fucking doing the same stupid thing over and over again. And it's not just the situation, it's different situations they're in, but their decisions are just fucking stupid and wonder why in the fuck you even wonder why you even bother with them or how they're related to you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the state of California.
Now, let's get back to sports here because we have 171 people watching right now. So shout out to everybody. Do I have a hand clap sound effect? No, I don't. All right, I'm going to mute Coach while he gets over his coughing fit real quick and talk about this here. So we have an update. The Edmonton Oilers did beat the Dallas Stars 2-1 to advance to the Stanley Cup final. So you've got the Florida Panthers going up against the Edmonton Oilers, with the Florida Panthers already being the favorite. Let's see if Coach's coffee fit step.
I'm good. I'm good now.
There he is. All
I'm
right.
sorry about that.
David Cunningham said, "We'll all be riding scooters like third world country soon." Bro, I told the guy who I'm renting from, I said, don't be surprised if I have me a scooter here at the end of 2024, even with my hybrid, because the way that prices and gas and registrations being ridiculous. In Maryland, right? In Maryland, you have to have an emissions test done. I don't know if it's every year or every other year. Maryland just changed their car registration fees. It used to be 180 over 2 years. Now it's like 150 or 140 every year. So over a 10-year time span, you're paying more for the registration of your car than you did in the past. Man, every time I get a little bit of money, man. I work to pay off my debts. I'm trying to reduce all my liabilities to the max extent possible, like bad debt, like credit cards and things like that. I'm trying to get all of that stuff done because it seems like every time I get a little bit of breathing room, here's something else. Give me all your money, King. I'm fucking sick of it. My bad. Back to sports. So we have the update for the Edmonton Oilers. We were going to talk about Caitlin Clark and go over this. It went viral because of just how she's getting mistreated. But I do have to end the stream in like the next 5 minutes. But David Cunningham told us that the Indiana Fever got destroyed by the league leading New York Liberty 104-68, in which Caitlin Clark scored a whopping 3 points. She hit a 3-pointer in the second quarter She went 1 for 10 throughout the entire game, and it had her lowest point total playing an entire game in the WNBA. Now look, it happens. Kobe's had some bad games. LeBron's had some bad games. You know, players will have bad games, right? Um, but to get just destroyed like that and to have your star player go 1 for 10, only hitting 1 3-pointer is it's bad. It's bad for the Fever. The Fever themselves, who's had back-to-back bad seasons, that might end up with the number 1 or number 2 pick again this upcoming season if they can't get things figured out. Coach, what say you?
Man, I gotta say this. Hey, sometimes shit happens. Sometimes things get into the head. Sometimes you bite off a little bit more than you can chew, and sometimes things, she's got to take a reset. She's got to take a step back, refocus. I'm not saying take time off. I'm just saying get things a little bit more into perspective, and get herself that motivation, and kind of get onto the pressure. I guarantee the pressure's getting to her right now. It sucks, but she can get through it. I believe she can get through it. This is something. This is something that failure. Everybody had to fail before they succeed. Nobody started off immediately great,
Yep,
except for Magic
absolutely.
Johnson. That motherfucker did with
Now,
his rookie year. But yeah,
so I'm going to bring this
so
up.
did Jeter. But hey, Jeter started great.
So
But
you
yeah,
got Caitlin. She's dribbling right here, number 22. She's at the top of the screen. She's sitting down there. Watch the number 7. Miss number 1, rebound. Miss 2, put it back up. Miss 3, up. It fight for the ball, and finally got it. All right, that was kind of a clown show. But you see Caitlin right there. Let me see if I can take this back. After that player scored down low, she's talking trash to somebody, right? And kind of going down. It's hard to tell what was said, but she wasn't directly in her face. All right. So Chicago comes back down. Okay. Caitlin Clark's a little bit up under the basket. All right. She's running around. Number 7 takes the shot, hits it. Okay. And then this is the part that everybody's talking about right here. So after number 7 makes the shot, she gets in Caitlin Clark's face and she mouthed, "You a bitch," and then gives her a flagrant foul. So this is the entire sequence. Miss, puts it back up, scores. Caitlin Clark says something, and then let's see if they show it right there. I'm gonna run it back. She said, "You don't see it from this angle," but she goes, "You a bitch," and then she just bumps her. And I'm like, right here, "You a bitch." Boom. And people were saying that that wasn't a sports play. Like, why are you doing that? Okay. And this is one of Indiana's 2 wins that they've had. And it was against the Chicago team that's also featured Angel Reese, which is she's starting to get on my nerves, but that's another story. And I'm like, why do this? And also, why didn't somebody come over and start beating her behind? That should have started a brawl. That should
uh,
have an entire brawl. And you see the center over here when that happens, right here, number 7. She looks like, hey, but she doesn't run up on Carter here, number 7. She runs to her teammate. I'm like, no, you got to immediately go to the other player and start some shit.
Oh wait, this is the WNBA, right?
Yes, sir.
This constitutes the most I've watched of the WNBA in about There was that one day I got stuck at the Atlanta airport, and it was either the ABC had that game on, or it was watching CNN, or not charge my phone because I didn't have a charger. So I think that might have been the about 3 minutes of my life that I have completely forgotten about. And since that time, I've had zero use for it except for as a reference up until now, because I think that's been the most. And I turned around about halfway through there and kind of wondered why anybody would watch that.
So they called
I,
that.
I think after the first little league rebound, I couldn't watch it anymore.
Now they called that foul a flagrant in the game. All right, but the WNBA handles fines a lot differently, right? So there hasn't been a monetary uh, uh, penalty that's been played by um, Ms. Carter that's been announced yet. But as of 2 hours ago, it has been announced that the league has fined Angel Reese for failing to make herself available to the media after the game, and the team 5,000 for failing to ensure that all of their players comply with the league policy. I think that the league does need to send a message that non-basketball type plays like that should not exist, because if you can go around and do that and not lose money for it, even if you're only making 70 something thousand a game, Bounty Gate against Clark, game on, some culture players might be talking about that. So I think you have to put a kibosh on it by finding these women the equivalent of 20% of their game check. $200. Let me stop. You know what? I ain't gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that.
Downgrade them. Downgrade them.
I'm not
Downgrade,
going to do that.
downgrade their hotel from the courtyard by Marriott
To the
to the
motel.
Days Inn.
Let's not do that, coach.
Make them take Greyhound instead of chartered bus.
So I think
They
with
have
that
to
being
fly the
said,
plane from that movie, Major League.
that this is our longest live stream that we've had at the sports bar. I don't think we've quite hit 3 hours before.
Holy shit. Not even the Super Bowl.
Even Dave said they'll be staying at the Motel 6, just like what you said. Oh man. Hey, I'm glad to be back. This was fun.
They have to go to Subway
May
instead of
May
church.
was an interesting month altogether. I didn't anticipate us not having any shows, but I ended up doing a lot of traveling that month as well. I think in June we should be good to go. July is going to be a different beast. We might have to do some pre-recorded shows, but I like that we're here to all 171 people that's watching right now. Hey, let me give a salute. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
dope. I like to see it. If you
Appreciate
hadn't,
you.
hit the like button already. Like the thing that's going to be scrolling down here at the bottom, hit that like button. All right. All shows here at WTF Nation Radio start at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we have one almost every day of the week now. So whatever tickles your fancy, be sure to come on back. Coach, what do you have to close us out?
The next fight after that, the post game spread goes from Pepsi and Lay's to Oots and Diet Shasta.
Horrible.
Yeah, that was.
Absolutely horrible.
So's the WNBA.
Coach, man, it was good to be back on live with you. The
Man,
way
that
you
felt
started out the show with that photo definitely told me that tonight was going to be a fun night. So I appreciate you
man.
tuning in.
God.
To everybody that tuned in live as well, thank you. Coach, do you have anything else to say, brother?
I fucking need it tonight, man. I fucking needed this. This was good.
That's awesome. And we
Hell
can't ever
yeah.
close out the show without David Cunningham's great show, King and Coach. Have a great week. Stay safe. That is how we will always close out our
You
show.
too,
So,
buddy.
David, if you're never watching, I'm not going to know what to do to close out the show. So, hey, we appreciate you, Dave, and everybody else that tunes in as well. So, with that being said, we out.
Hey, King,
Peace.
can I borrow a quarter or a WNBA paycheck?
Yo. Oh, I'm going to close out the show with.
Oh, damn. I wanted that to close out. Shit.
There's a clip that I'm going to play. I'm not going to give
Okay.
no context. I'm
Okay.
just going to minimize us, play the clip, and then stop the stream. Holler at y'all later.